we will be the judges. And I just want to sort of go over a few things about how we will do the judging. So, being the first year, we're not quite sure how many entries we will have. We may have more folks than just you in this room. It's actually opened up to Kenton, Boone, and Campbell counties here in northern Kentucky, and then Hamilton County across the river. So maybe we didn't get any Hamiltonians coming over here just for this, but they may still be entered into the contest. So in terms of judging, first thing that we're going to ask you to do is when you submit your writing, you do want it in paper form, hard copy. And it's supposed to be 30 to 50 pages, I believe, is what we agreed on?
10 to 20.
10 to 20. That's right, one time it was 30 to 50. Okay, so yeah, 10 to 20 pages, but here's what we would appreciate if you would do. We want to be able to read your works and not know anything really about you. We want your works to stand on their own. So don't put your name on the actual work, but we would like you to put your name and the title of your work on a separate piece of paper. And then our library friends here, they will assign some sort of a code ID number to both the manuscript as well as that cover page. They'll keep the cover page and hand us the actual work. So don't put your name in a header or a footer, okay? Just on a cover page when you submit that. So then how are we actually going to decide whose work is the best, especially if we've got somebody in here who is a brilliant teen fantasy writer and then somebody else who does some sort of, murder mystery. There are two separate genres, and how are we going to really sort of be fair about that? Maybe I'm partial to mysteries. I write mysteries, so maybe, I might lean more favorably towards that. So I think the way we've decided to do this is we're going to give you several hurdles that you have to clear before we decide who the winner is. So the first would be spelling and grammar. And this is a serious hurdle because if you do not clear that hurdle, you won't even be in the anthology or, what did I call it? Compilation. So, yeah, because we can't really publish something that is going to distract the reader trying to focus on your story if every sentence has a word in it that's misspelled or bad grammar or horrible punctuation. So we're going to look at the mechanics of what you've written. And if we find 3 to 5 infractions before we've even got to page 5 or 10, then there'll be some threshold that we will discuss amongst ourselves and we'll say, yeah, here's a cutoff. If you have one maybe mistyped or 2 mistyped words or 1 misspelling and a grammar infraction, it might be okay. Certainly, some of my books that I have published have certainly had some problems in there. It's really hard for 400 pages to make sure the thing is totally unacceptable. But anyway, I digress. That is going to be your first hurdle. So assuming that you submit something that looks good, that has really good grammar, punctuation, and spelling, and by the way, there is nothing more invaluable to a writer than having other people who love them, who will read their works and serve as a test reader. So I really encourage you, be that a parent or a best friend or whoever, team up with somebody who will agree ahead of time to help you with this. That could even be a high school English teacher. By all means, that's a great idea to latch on to somebody who does it for a profession if they're willing to help you with this. In addition to that, you also have Daryl, Angel, and myself, maybe not necessarily every time, but we're going to try to be here at the library on Saturday mornings every couple of weeks if you would choose to show up and get some feedback from us about how things are going. Okay? So if you're feeling like you just don't have enough people in your life who are willing to read your stuff and give you honest feedback and helping you move forward, you can come in here and talk with us. Okay? And I can have some more information. We have a blog page with all these details for you to consult later if you'd like. So after you get past the grammar piece of it, there's also a skill that we would like for you to develop as a writer, and that is to be able to have something that is is memorable. Okay. Actually, I think the second step, I'm going on to hurdle number 3. The second one is it has to be compelling. So compelling is the word. So what do I mean by that? Not just to give you a definition, but it essentially makes us want to read more. So if you're submitting 20 pages, I would like to think that by the time I get to page 5, maybe even if it's just 10 pages, when I get to page 5, I'll stop and I'll ask myself the question, do I care? Do I really feel like I want to turn the next page? It's got to be compelling. Now, unlike the spelling and grammar, if maybe it's not very compelling to me as a judge, that does not mean you can't have your entry put into the collection, the compilation. Okay, it can still make it in there, and that's still a cool thing. Your written work being in with all the rest of you guys and having it for sale for your family and friends to be able to purchase at a real bookstore. So that's all good. Okay, so what it will do, however, is it will take your work, if it's not compelling, and we're going to put that in sort of a secondary bucket and just let it sit there. We'll move on to the next person's writing, and we will read that. And if it is compelling, they are going to be one level above you in terms of fighting for that money. Okay, so it improves your odds of winning the contest if it is compelling. If it isn't, then you're probably not going to see any money out of the contest. Okay, and then the last hurdle is it memorable? So we may end up, at least this is my vision of how this will work. I'll read through all of these things, and I'll probably come away with having read everybody's work that is spelling and grammar is good, it's compelling, and then the last one is it memorable? So I'll sit on all of what I've read for 5 days without doing anything. And then I'll go back and I'll look at them again and I'll say, yeah, you know what, I found myself driving in the car thinking about your work or your work. So the key thing about this is I want you to sort of keep this in mind when you're writing. Different people write for different reasons. Some people say, you know what, I just got a lot of problems in my life and I just have to get away from them. And I go write. Other people are like, you know what, I'm ambitious. I want to be able to get a book on the New York Times bestseller list at some point in my life. Different people have different reasons why they write. But if you're in a contest, you have to take your reader into consideration. When you're writing, you have to think, is this memorable? That you have. There's probably not a whole lot of other people who are going to really find that compelling. Okay, so while it may be of interest to you, you also kind of have to realize that the public has some sort of input in evaluating your work if you're going to be a public writer. Nothing wrong with just writing for the sheer love of writing and handing it out to a few of your friends. But if you want to get something published, certainly all 3 of us authors who are up here, we're struggling to find publishers to actually produce our work. And that's #1 consideration. Is it going to sell to someone else? I might think it's the greatest thing that anybody's ever written. It's the great American novel. Yay, people should love me for that. But, not everybody's going to like something if you really didn't consider that in your choice of subject. The type of story you write, I'll just wrap this up. Try to make it meaningful to other people. Engaging, memorable, don't just do something that you think is great. You've got to sell yourself. You've got to sell your story in the way it's written. Okay? So, at the end of this whole process, after we have gone through those 3 hurdles, we should probably just have a few of them that we think are eligible for prize money. And then we would just sort of talk it out amongst each other and decide amongst the 3 of us who is first, second, and third. So that's kind of how we'll work that. Any questions about the judging? I also want to mention, Leanne talked about the form that is on the back table. If you have a sibling or a friend who wanted to be here tonight but who is not, who wants to get into the contest, please please take a copy of that for them, because they'll need to sign that as well. So next I'm going to turn it over to Daryl. He's got a few things to say, and then I think we would just open it up to questions and answers at that point. So Daryl?
What different genre writers do we have? Do we have any mystery writers? Science fiction? Paranormal? What do you guys like to write?
You're running out of genres.
Yeah. What do you like to write?
Mix of anything.
Mix of anything? So you're not tied down to one genre, but you. Okay, suspense.
Harrowing and suspense.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to talk to you all about, my particular genre is mystery. Okay, specifically what is called cozy mystery. Okay, if you're familiar with Agatha Christie, those type of books, you know, the Miss Marples, the Hercule Poirot, those type of things. What I'm going to ask you to not keep out of your book, but to make sure it's not blatant, is gratuitous violence, gratuitous sex, or anything like that. Okay, you're all familiar with the movie Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, those kind of movies. When I was growing up, we just called them slasher movies. Halloween 1 was just like Halloween 2, and Halloween 3, and Halloween 4, and Friday the 13th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know what you did last summer, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They were all the same thing. No real plot. You know, people went camping, lots of blood and knives and all kinds of gory stuff, and then it ended. Okay? Anyone can do that.